Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you. I am so happy to be here with you today. I was saying to the band and the volunteers and the AV team, we got used to having just a small group of you here the last couple of Sundays, and it felt so good. And boy, it feels empty today. But I feel you. I know you're there. I know you're there. That camera 3. I see you. You're there. So I want to share with you, we are celebrating Pride, and we're also completing our 4-week series on divine integration. Integration is when we pull things together. And today I'm really going to be talking about diversity and inclusion, and how when we honor a particular group, a minority, it takes nothing away from our unity, from our wholeness, and from our connection. As a matter of fact, when we can recognize and celebrate our differences, then we're free to really celebrate oneness. But there are, all these different groups and categories that we sometimes like to get stuck on. I had to share with you a funny story. John, my partner, was talking with his sister Gail the other day, and Gail is wonderful, and she was taking care of her 2 grandkids who are 6 and 9, and John is talking to them too, and he was asking what they're doing, and Gail is a great cook, and so John said, "Well, I bet Gigi made you a good breakfast. What did you have?" And one of them said, "We had pancakes." And John went, "Mmm." And then the other said, "We had a lot of bacon." And John went, "Ugh." And they were like, "What? What do you mean?" And then Gigi, said, "Well, Uncle Johnny doesn't eat meat." And the 9-year-old, without missing a beat, said, "Is that because you're a virgin?" I think she meant vegan. But I've been having a lot of fun with that all week. Is that because you're a virgin? We do celebrate difference. We do. Wouldn't it be boring if we were all the same? There's something, and it is unusual still in 2020 for a church to have a public celebration of LGBT people, but it's one of the things that I just love about us. The first time I came to this church back in 2010, as a guest artist, I came to sing on a Sunday service, and looking at the diversity of this community, it's a beautiful and rare thing we have in this church, in our local community. I know it's true of our wider community now that we are online only, but that our diversity is our strength, and it is a beautiful doorway for us to learn more about who we are individually and who we can be collectively. I believe there is a theological grounding for us to celebrate diversity in New Thought, in Unity, and I find it right in our 5 basic principles. I want to share these with you. It's been a while since I've read them. And this was actually a distillation that was created a century after Myrtle and Charles founded Unity. Their great-granddaughter, Connie Fillmore Bazzi, was was an ordained Unity minister. I think she was a classmate of our own Howard Caesar. And she was the president of Unity at the time. And she said this, she created these 5 principles, a distillation of what we teach and believe. She said, "There's certainly nothing new in them. I didn't invent anything. I just restated what the truth is, the way we teach it, as I understand it." These are the principles as Connie Fillmore Bazzi wrote them. "There is only one presence and one power active as the universe and as my life, God, the good." The first principle, there's only one power. One life, not 2. We are non-dualistic. We believe in oneness as our core teaching. The second, Our essence is of God. Therefore, we are inherently good. This God essence we call the Christ was fully expressed in Jesus. That each of us individually contains the goodness, the inherent goodness, and the inherent mind of oneness that Jesus taught. So not only is God good, first principle, we as individuals are part of that good and part of God. So our unity with God is our second principle. 3, we are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. This is the creative process. This is the law of mind action. This is, if you saw The Secret, if you haven't been around and taken a lot of unity classes, you might understand that there is a principle of manifestation that by using our thoughts in a disciplined and focused way, we can actually recreate the very circumstances of our lives. This is what we have been teaching for 100 years at Unity of Houston and for well over 100 years as the New Thought movement, that we are creative. That's the third principle. The fourth, through prayer and meditation, we align our heart and mind with God. Denials and affirmations are tools we use. Practice is our fourth principle. It's not well, that's the fifth principle. I'm getting ahead of myself. But we must have some way of practice, I guess that's the best word, of just, we have these principles, God is, I am, there's a creative energy that moves through me, but how do I put my body and my mind in a place where I can be focused and aware of that? Prayer and meditation. And the fifth principle, through thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth we know. Another restating of the fifth principle says this: knowledge of these spiritual principles is not enough. We must live them. And for me, it's easy to see that love being the very nature of God and the nature of reality that is the goodness that must express as humanity impels us forward to recognize the God in all, to recognize the good in all, to recognize the love in all, even when other people can't see it in themselves. And that fifth principle, man, it gets you every time. It's not just enough to think, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I agree with that. To live it. And so we live our understanding of the very fundamental love that is the nature of reality. We live it on Pride Sunday. We celebrate our LGBTQ brothers and sisters. We do it on Black History Month. We celebrate the history of African Americans as a particular group who have struggled in our culture to matter. We celebrate Hispanic heritage. We're learning to see that we are seeing that we are being called forward into not just saying, well, we're all one, isn't it good? But no, we must begin to act and to lift people up and to educate ourselves about our differences so that we can truly live in oneness. Pride has taken what I think is a really healthy turn this year. Not because of the illness, because of coronavirus. Most of the huge celebrations have been canceled this year, and the one in Houston is one of the biggest. Over 700,000 people gathered downtown, and our church has been there, marching in the parade with a big banner that says, "All are welcome at Unity of Houston." But what I've noticed this year is because of what is going on with the African American community and the Black Lives Matter movement, that the Pride community has really said, no, let's keep the focus here for now. That this is where we want to this is the part that needs attention. And I know that some people still, they have a trigger against that Black Lives Matter statement. And they still think, but no, we're in unity, all lives matter. So I'm sure you've heard it by now, but when Jesus told the parable of the lost sheep, he didn't say all sheep matter. The one that was in danger, he left the 99 that were safe and went to take care of the one that needed attention. And that's all that the Black Lives Matter movement is about. Saying that there's a problem here. There's something that we need help. We need attention. It's not a call of superiority and dominance over. It's an invitation to recognition of oneness, to bring our spiritual awareness to these beloved brothers and sisters. So we're learning how to bring our unity out into this new arena, how to bring it out into the world, that fifth principle, to live it. It is a theology of inclusion. You know, I often like to find Bible stories to illustrate my sermons, and I will tell you, this is a difficult one, and here's why. Judaism and Christianity, as they are practiced by the majority of adherents and have been from long, most of the time, they are dualistic in nature. And so there are lots of stories about overcoming the enemy. There are lots of stories about vanquishing the oppressor. There are a lot of stories that have a good and bad, good and evil kind of a frame to them. And what we're trying to do this week, as we're talking about diversity and inclusion in humanity, we're also talking about divine integration. How do we see the oneness? How do we stop seeing people as other? And how do I start seeing people as the I am, that we are? And that's what we're being called to. That's what we're being lifted to. At the end of this message, I want to talk a little bit about the nature of evolution and the discomfort inherent in it. That it's okay if we're uncomfortable, because some old paradigm, some old way of thinking is no longer a fit for what is needed now, and a new energy is seeking to come in. But that's my third point. Make sure you got my second point. My first point in here right. We believe in a theology of inclusion. And that we believe in a theology of extending ourselves for helping others. This comes from John. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. These are the words of Jesus. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in love, just as I have kept my Father's command and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. The King James says your joy may be full. I love the word full. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. In traditional theology, this is the setup for the atonement, the blood atonement of Jesus' sacrifice for reconciliation to God. That's one lens of seeing that scripture, of laying down one's life for another. The way I hold it in a non-dual oneness theology is that we are called to recognize our oneness with each other and extend ourselves in support and recognition of the inherent divinity and the goodness of all people. My second point this morning, and I have three. If you never watch my sermons, you don't know that, but I'm a big believer in the three-point sermon. My second point is that this is hard. It's really difficult. Oh my gosh, integration is hard work. Not finding someone to blame, it's really hard to do that. I mean, it's just hard. Even Jesus, who is our exemplar, our elder brother, there's a whole passage in 2 of the Gospels about the woes of the Pharisees, where he calls them out on their wrong action. You're doing this and you're doing this. And sometimes it's hard to not create an enemy. But our theology does not allow us to have enemies. Now, we can call out practices and systematic ways of institutional thinking that are holding good people down. We can call that out and say that is not the truth. But when it comes to people, what we are being called to do is look beneath the action, beneath the beliefs, to the truth of the divinity of all. I've noticed this. It's actually a common wisdom that sometimes when the oppressed people rise up and throw off the oppressor, they become what? The oppressor. because that's the life they know. If someone has held me down, I'm going to throw them up, then I'm going to be up here, then I'm going to hold somebody else down. This is a common human response. I chose the title today, Room at God's Table for Everyone. And I was really thinking about those extended family Thanksgivings and Christmases where they had the big table and they had a kids' table. If you even got a table, some of them had to eat out on the porch. But you got to sit at the kids' table, and it was like you just couldn't wait till you were big enough to get your spot at the big table. And I always want to make sure that there was still somebody over there at the little table so I could feel a little superior. And that's really human. That if I have been held down, if I work to find my empowerment and to rise up into who I am, the human egoic part of my nature will seek to be over another. And we cannot allow this consciousness to pervade the movement that is seeking to be born on earth right now. It will not work. It will not sustain us. What's seeking to happen is to rise beyond that thought of up-down, beyond that thought of vanquished and vanquisher, to rise into a place of common humanity and common divinity. That's what we're called for. That's what we're called to. You know, when I was a kid, I just wanted to be on the winning team. That was really, I know pretty much everyone has a little bit of that. I had a lot of that. Like I really needed to be included. I really had a deep need for relevance. I was never one of the popular kids. I was a brainy kid, so I got recognition that way. But I was never one of the jocks, and that just wasn't me. And I just wanted so much to be included on the right team. And that need in me found its perfect match in evangelical Christianity. That I found that I had a group of people speaking a theology that would just say, you believe this and you're on the winning team. As a matter of fact, they would say, read the end of the book, we win. That's truly the theology that I had in my teens. I let that go in my 20s. But that idea that there is a winning team and I need to find it and get on it. And when I first got to the New Thought community in my 20s, I was like, now I'm on the winning team. And it took a long time for me to unwind that and to release any thought that there are teams. There's one humanity. And I know we're in an election year, and I told you this is hard. It is. Inclusion is hard. But I'm asking us all to be for something and against nothing. To be for equality and justice, but against no one. Because truly, there is only one life, one presence. Neil Donald Walsh, author of Conversations with God. Richard Rohr quoted him yesterday, which kind of impressed me, and so on the podcast I was listening to. And we are on an evolutionary journey. If we are to move into a higher and more just way of living together in humanity, we must release the old. This is what Neil Donald Walsh says, yearning for a new way will not produce it. Only ending the old way can do that. You cannot hold on to the old all the while declaring that you want something new. The old will defy the new. The old will deny the new. The old will decry the new. There is only one way to bring in the new. You must make room for it. You've been hearing me speak about the 3 stages of evolution as order, disorder, reorder. I've been speaking about that all month in this series on integration. We're seeing a lot of disorder in our social systems. We're seeing a lot of old ideas crumbling and falling apart, and we're seeing statues come down. We're seeing flags being voted on. There's a lot of things that we have just kind of taken for granted that are now up in culture, and they're coming apart. And for many people, This is very unsettling and scary. And what many people want to do when they feel the disorder is they want to go back to a previous order. They want to go back to something that was known and safe, perhaps where people knew their place. But that will not reveal God's love as the next stage of human existence. When when gay and lesbian people had the right of marriage conferred upon us, it was said that this was the fastest shift in public opinion about a civil rights issue in the history since they've ever been taking polls. That in 30 years, it went from 70% against gay marriage to 70% for. And with the Supreme Court decision, it's now the law of the land. Of course, there's still people who oppose it. It's still part of some political platforms. Not going to go there. But it is the way it is, and people mostly support it. That used to be the fastest change. The one now is Black Lives Matter. That it went from being highly unfavorable, but with the death of George Floyd and with Elijah McCain, with Breonna Taylor, and so many names. These lives matter, and something wants to happen. And there is something for us as a community to do. And right now what we're mostly doing is we're educating ourselves. I love our Healing the Heart of America initiative, what Cindy and Jean and Karen are teaching us and showing us about our unconscious bias so that we can heal and so that we can bring the true unity into humanity. There's a workshop this afternoon that my friend Denise O'Doherty is teaching on transgender issues. If that troubles you and you don't educate yourself, take her workshop this afternoon. Find out what it is. You'll see it's not scary. It's human. You'll see. If you can just trust that through the disorder, reorder, new order, higher order will emerge. Why? Because it's the nature of reality. What is reality? God, love. And we're here to find it, to reveal it, and to be it. I'm going to close with 2 Corinthians 13, 17, and 18. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And we all who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord who is the Spirit. We are rising, we are changing, we are healing, we are becoming more of who God made us to be. And you and I are made in the image and likeness of divine love. Happy Pride. If no one has told you today that they love you, I love you. Thank you for being a part of my community. God bless you. Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.